So what are we looking at acreage-wise out here? About 360. Now, in Texas, that might just be a backyard, but around here, that is an absolute empire. Let me ask you this. When you are out here on the land, does the mind ever actually shut off, or are you constantly plotting the next big screen moment? Always grinding, the wheels never stop turning. You know, for a Hollywood icon who guards his privacy like a hawk, Robert Duvall's estate has always been this massive enigma. We all pictured the same thing: pristine marble floors, old money aesthetics, and absolute tranquility tucked away from the prying eyes of the paparazzi. But recent discoveries from inside the compound have sent shockwaves through the industry. What was actually lurking behind those gates is something that defies every expectation we had. This supposed sanctuary is now the centre of a narrative that sounds almost too wild to be true. How did he keep these secrets buried for decades, and what other skeletons are rattling in the closets of that Virginia manor? Stick around, because we are about to tear down the curtain and reveal the bombshell discovery inside Robert Duvall's mansion that has the whole world talking. It is the end of an era for a titan of the silver screen and a legend in his own right. We are heartbroken to report that the Oscar-winning powerhouse Robert Duvall has left us at the age of 95. The icon took his final bow at his sprawling estate in Fauquier County, Virginia on February 15th. The devastating news was confirmed via an emotional statement from his wife, Luciana Duvall. She noted that he slipped away peacefully within the sanctuary of his own home, enveloped in love. Luciana, his partner in life since their wedding in 2005, broke the silence with a tribute that was visibly heavy with grief. She didn't just call him a husband, she described him as her soulmate, her closest confidant, and arguably one of the greatest thespians to ever grace our screens. To the rest of us, he was a cinematic giant, a director and a storyteller, but to her, he was simply her entire universe. Luciana highlighted that his intensity on camera was only rivaled by his lust for life off camera, his obsession with connecting with real people, diving into deep conversations and savouring a perfect meal. She emphasised that he never phoned it in. Whether it was a blockbuster or an indie flick, he poured every ounce of his soul into the work. He didn't just act, he became. He committed fully to the raw truth of every character, no matter how complex or flawed. That relentless dedication is exactly why his filmography will stand the test of time, inspiring generations of actors long after we are gone. While expressing gratitude for the decades of adoration from fans, she also pleaded for space, asking the public to respect their privacy while they navigate this crushing loss. Duvall spent his twilight years tucked away at his historic Virginia fortress known as Burnley Farm. We are talking about a massive 360-acre spread located deep in the Plains, Virginia. He held the deed to this breathtaking slice of heaven for over 30 years. The main residence is a beast boasting 5 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms. The crown jewel of the estate is a stunning 3-story Georgian farmhouse, which was actually designed by Luciana herself, proving she has an eye for architecture. This wasn't just a show home, it was a fully operational cattle farm, reflecting his deep-seated desire to get his hands dirty and live that authentic country lifestyle. But Duvall wasn't just some Hollywood celebrity hiding behind high walls in Fauquier County. He was down in the trenches, an active voice in the local community. Even well into his 90s, the man showed up. Back in 2023, at the ripe age of 92, he actually marched into a Warrenton Town Council meeting to make his voice heard. He wasn't there to sign autographs, he was there to go to war against a massive proposed Amazon data center project that threatened the area. Reading from a prepared speech, he reminded everyone that while Hollywood flew him around the globe, Virginia was the only place that truly felt like home. He described the county as his sanctuary, the one place that offered him genuine relief and peace from the chaos of stardom. He hammered home the importance of preserving the unique soul of the community rather than selling it out to big tech. He urged the council to think twice before rubber stamping a special use permit that would pave the way for massive server farms and the ugly power grids needed to run them. In his eyes, allowing that kind of industrial development would fundamentally destroy the rural character of the town forever. When he dropped the mic and walked out of that auditorium, hundreds of locals rose to their feet, erupting in applause. That standing ovation wasn't for the movie star, it was for the neighbour who actually gave a damn about the land and the people living on it. Now, before he went full country gentleman in Virginia, Duvall definitely had his footprint in the Golden State. He used to own a spot in West Hollywood, a charming little bungalow clocking in at just over 1,065 square feet. He eventually unloaded that property in 2017 for a cool $1.6 million. This place wasn't a cookie-cutter mansion. It was a classic two-bedroom Spanish-style casita with roots going all the way back to 1924. Duvall and Luciana picked up this gem back in 2008 for about $1.1 million, proving they know real estate as well as they know cinema. They didn't just sit on it, though. Under their watch, the house underwent a complete top-to-bottom renovation. It even featured a detached guest house for extra solitude. The whole compound was engineered for maximum comfort and keeping the outside world at bay. Hidden behind high wall security gates and thick hedges, it was a fortress. The front courtyard even rocked a serene fountain to set the mood before you walked in the door. Out back, the landscaping was manicured to perfection, creating a zen-like oasis right in the middle of the city hustle. Inside, they got creative. The second bedroom came with its own sitting area, easily doubling as a cosy home office. With a view of the lush garden and its own private entrance, it was the perfect hideaway for a writer or a recluse. The vibe was elevated by gleaming hardwood floors and soaring ceilings that made the modest space feel incredibly airy and expansive. They kept the flow seamless with an open floor plan, letting the energy and the guests move naturally from room to room. The master suite was a dream, with French doors swinging open to the backyard for that quintessential California indoor-outdoor living, while the kitchen was decked out with top-tier stainless steel gear. Plus, the place features slick recessed lighting throughout, perfectly blending high-end style with the kind of modern convenience you would expect at this price point. We are talking about a prime location that sits just a heartbeat away from the luxury of Beverly Hills and merely moments from the legendary dining and nightlife of the Sunset Strip. It is undeniably one of the most coveted zip codes in Los Angeles, but Robert Duvall's impressive real estate empire stretched far beyond the glitz of California and the rolling hills of Virginia. In fact, the legendary actor actually held the deed to a second property right there on the very same street in Los Angeles, doubling down on his investment in the area. On the East Coast, he maintained a massive 361-acre country estate in Virginia, along with luxury condos in both sunny Florida and the bustling streets of Washington District of Columbia. You could say his property collection was a perfect mirror of the man himself, balancing the fast-paced success of his Hollywood career with a genuine appreciation for the quiet, grounded lifestyle of the farm. Over the course of a career that spanned decades, Duvall cemented his status as a cinematic titan, delivering some of the most raw and unforgettable performances in the history of film and television. From his chilling calm in The Godfather to the rugged grit of Lonesome Dove and that iconic swagger in Apocalypse Now, his resume reads like a greatest hits list of American cinema. The industry officially crowned him royalty in 1983 when he took home the Academy Award for Best Actor for his heartbreakingly beautiful turn in Tender Mercies. That win wasn't just a trophy. It was the defining peak of a journey defined by powerful storytelling, leaving a legacy that is permanently etched into the bedrock of Hollywood history. He had this rare gift for bringing a terrifying depth, brutal honesty and quiet strength to every single script he touched, no matter the genre. It was his uncanny ability to completely disappear into the skin of the people he played that made him, without a doubt, one of the most revered actors of his entire generation. Whether he was tackling a high-stakes dramatic lead or a complicated, flawed character, he treated every role with a level of seriousness and dedication that is hard to find these days. Naturally, the heartbreaking news of his passing has sent shockwaves through the global fan base as millions mourn the man they watched transform on screen for over half a century. But behind the celebrity persona, those who were lucky enough to know him personally saw a man deeply devoted to his sanctuary, his local community, and the family he held dear. This tragic update comes to us via Kelsey Gooley, a top-tier celebrity journalist who brought her talents to the team at Realtor.com in 2026. She has made a name for herself covering the intersection of high-stakes real estate trends and the private lives of the rich and famous. Before landing her current gig, she was breaking stories for major outlets like the Daily Mail, True Urban Culture, and J Media Corporation, diving deep into celebrity psychology and social issues. A proud alum of Pace University, she holds a bachelor's degree in journalism and was even honoured with the prestigious James Rose Award for Excellence in Journalism during her studies. When she is not chasing the next big scoop, you can usually find her chilling with her cat Mary or cheering loud and proud for the Albanian national soccer team. Now let's look back at Duvall's Virginia haven. To Robert Duvall, a house was never just a building. He believed a home should feel like a nest, a place of total comfort and safety. His philosophy was that a living space needed to be functional and beautiful, but above all, it had to be comfortable in a soft, gentle way that puts you at ease. That is exactly how the screen legend described his personal sanctuary when he opened up to Architectural Digest back in October of 2002. He invited the cameras into his private world, showing off the one place where he could truly unplug a stunning Georgian-style farmhouse tucked away in the Virginia countryside. It was simple, elegant, and overflowing with warmth, serving as his primary residence for years and perfectly reflecting his quiet strength and zest for a life well lived. Sadly, the world lost this giant of the arts when Robert Duvall passed away on February 15th, having reached the incredible age of 95. Reports confirm he passed peacefully within the walls of that beloved home, enveloped in the love and comfort of his family, until the very end. That farmhouse, the same one that graced the glossy pages of Architectural Digest, remained the beating heart of his existence long after the cameras stopped rolling. It was his fortress of solitude, his escape from the madness of fame, and the backdrop for the happiest years of his life, far removed from the characters he made famous. We will always remember him as the consigliere in the first two Godfather masterpieces, and for delivering lines that defined a generation in Apocalypse Now. And of course, there was that deeply moving, soul-stirring performance in Tender Mercies, the role that finally earned him the Academy's highest honour. Interestingly, the Oscar statuette he won for that film wasn't locked away in a vault. It sat casually on the fireplace mantel right there in his Virginia farmhouse. He didn't keep it there to show off, but rather as a quiet daily reminder of the hard work and dedication he poured into his craft every single day. For decades, he shared that beautiful life and home with his fourth wife, Luciana Pedraza Duvall, who actually spearheaded the interior design of the farmhouse herself. It was her personal touch that gave the estate its graceful, welcoming vibe, ensuring every corner felt like a warm embrace rather than a museum exhibit. The atmosphere was undeniably calm and inviting, a clear reflection of the bond they shared since Luciana married Robert back in the year 2005. In the wake of his passing, she released a statement sharing some incredibly touching words about the man she was lucky enough to call her husband. She made it clear that while the public saw an Oscar winner, a brilliant director and a storyteller to her, he was simply her entire universe. She described a man whose passion for his career was intense, but whose love for people, great food, and hosting friends was an even more powerful force in his life. Luciana shared that in every role he ever took on, he poured his entire heart into the character, always searching for the deeper truth of the human spirit. And it is through that tireless work that he has left behind something truly meaningful and lasting for every single one of us to cherish. Born Robert Selden Duvall on January 5th, 1931 in San Diego, he caught the acting bug early and never looked back. Once he wrapped up high school, he headed to Principia College in Illinois to formally study drama and hone his raw talent. Those formative years were crucial, helping to shape his early understanding of what it really means to command a stage and tell a story. Then in 1955, fresh off a 2-year stint in the army, he took the plunge and moved to New York City to chase acting for real, a bold step that changed history. New York City was a jungle of opportunity, but it was also a brutal grinding stone for young actors desperate to carve out a name for themselves. He cut his teeth at Sanford Meisner's legendary neighborhood playhouse, treating acting like a craft that needed to be sharpened daily. Back in those starving artist days, he shared a cramped apartment with another struggling dreamer named Dustin Hoffman. and was tight with Gene Hackman too. Just imagine that room, 3 future Hollywood titans at the very start of their journeys, bonding over shared poverty, rejection and ambition. Duvall paid his dues in gritty off-Broadway productions, slowly forcing the industry to whisper his name. All that hustle was about to pay off. Screenwriter Horton Foote spotted the raw talent and knew he had found a star. When Foote adapted To Kill a Mockingbird, he insisted Duvall was the only choice for the haunting role of Boo Radley. That performance became his big screen debut in the year 1962, instantly putting him on the map. It wasn't just a role, it was the launch pad for one of the most respected careers in cinema history. His partnership with Horton Foote didn't end there. Foote wrote the scripts for Tomorrow in 1972 and the heart-wrenching Tender Mercies in 1983, both serving as vehicles for Duvall's genius. Tender Mercies was the one that finally brought home the gold, winning him the Academy Award that would later sit quietly on the mantel of his farmhouse. Another massive figure in his life was Francis Ford Coppola. The director first tapped him for The Rain People back in 1969. But they made history together when Coppola cast him in The Godfather in 1972 and the chaotic masterpiece Apocalypse Now in 1979. His iconic roles in The Godfather and Apocalypse Now snagged him Oscar nominations, and he scored another nod for his powerful work in The Apostle in 1998. He didn't just star in The Apostle, he wrote and directed it, proving his creative tank was full of more than just acting talent. Throughout his legendary run, he racked up 7 Academy Award nominations, but he didn't just stick to the silver screen. He conquered television as well. He earned a well-deserved Emmy nomination for playing the unforgettable Gus McCrae in the 1989 miniseries Lonesome Dove. Later on, he finally grabbed the Emmy trophy for his role in Broken Trail, which hit screens in the year 2007. These accolades proved he could dominate any medium, effortlessly switching between film and TV while keeping his performances raw and honest. Even as recently as the year 2022, the legend dropped 2 more films, the sports drama Hustle and the mystery The Pale Blue Eye. Father Time hasn't slowed him down. Even in his later years, he remains a force in the industry, schooling the new generation on what real acting looks like. Yet, despite the red carpets and the Hollywood fame, his heart has always been anchored to his sprawling farm in Virginia. Fans got a rare glimpse into his private sanctuary in the October issue of Architectural Digest in the year 2002. The farmhouse sat in a tranquil landscape surrounded by acres of open earth. It was a perfect reflection of the man, simple, grounded and real. It was elegant without trying too hard to be flashy. It was a place designed for comfort, not for showing off to the paparazzi. But the real secret of the property was the old barn that he and his wife Luciana converted into a private tango hall. The couple shared a fierce passion for the dance. That barn became their escape, a personal studio where they could get lost in the music and practice their steps away from the world. A wooden structure that was once meant for storing hay and tractors was reborn as a temple of rhythm and movement. It was the ultimate symbol of how they built their life around passion. That love for tango didn't just stay in the barn, it bled into his career. In the year 2002, he directed and starred in the crime thriller Assassination Tango, playing a dangerous hitman with a soft spot for the dance floor. Luciana co-starred with him, blurring the lines between their real-life romance and his artistic vision. That Virginia farmhouse wasn't just a piece of real estate, it was a physical manifestation of Robert Duvall's soul. It showcased his love for the finer, quieter things. The walls held the echoes of career milestones, family dinners, and late-night tango sessions. It was the crossroads where his public persona faded away and his true self could just breathe. Robert Duvall's story is a masterclass in dedication and longevity. From studying drama in Illinois and serving in the army to scraping by in New York and finally breaking through in the 60s, he built his empire brick by brick. He aligned himself with the best directors, forged bonds that lasted a lifetime, and collected hardware that most actors only dream of. Through every decade, he stayed committed to the truth of the character, a life lived fully filled with spotlights and sunlight. Most guys look at a dusty barn and see storage space. To the average person, it's just a utility building for animals. It's practical and boring, but Robert Duvall isn't the average person. He's a screen titan who sees a dance floor where others see dirt. He brings that same intense, brooding passion to the tango that he brought to his most famous movie roles. Ironically, right around the time the world was falling in love with his mob lawyer character in The Godfather, he was falling hard for the tango. Duvall still vividly remembers the very first night he watched a performance of Tango Argentino. That same night, Francis Ford Coppola had just offered him the life-changing role of the consigliere in The Godfather. In a twist of fate, Coppola was actually sitting in the same audience that evening. It was a moment where destiny seemed to align. One path led to Hollywood immortality and global fame, while the other led to a private obsession that would keep his heart beating to a Latin rhythm for the rest of his life. Robert Duvall's portrayal of the consigliere in The Godfather remains etched in cinema history as one of the finest performances of all time. But behind the scenes, the rhythm of tango captured his soul just as intensely. It didn't just pass the time, it fundamentally reshaped his personal world, much like method acting defined his career. Decades later, when Duvall put down roots at Burnley Farm, a stunning 250-year-old estate deep in Virginia's Hunt Country, he saw potential that went far beyond the soil and structures. Where most people would have looked at the property's old barn and seen a place to store tractors or hay, Duvall envisioned a vibrant dance hall for himself and his partner, the gorgeous Argentine actress Luciana Pedraza. Suddenly, the passion of tango became a daily ritual right there in the American South. The couple turned their home into a cultural hub, flying in elite instructors like Pablo Veron from the Tango Lesson to lead intensive 3-day workshops. Once the classes wrapped up, the discipline melted away into a massive spirited fiesta where friends, family and students danced the night away together. Pedraza can't stop gushing about Duvall's natural talent on the floor. She insists he moves incredibly well and admits that sharing that rhythm with him is one of her greatest joys. She loves that he deeply understands the soul of the dance. For Duvall, tango isn't about flashy moves or showing off for a crowd. He describes it as a quiet, intensely personal conversation. It is about forging an unbreakable, silent bond between two partners, keeping the energy focused inward rather than projecting it outward. To him, it is an emotion you feel in your gut, not just steps you memorize. In fact, Duvall's obsession with tango is the very reason he crossed paths with Pedraza in the first place. Picture this. He was wandering the streets of Buenos Aires and she was a vibrant 24-year-old who had no idea she was about to meet a Hollywood legend. Their meet cute was incredibly wholesome. Duvall had actually set out to buy flowers that day, but as fate would have it, the florist was closed. Pivoting his plans, he ducked into a nearby bakery to satisfy a sugar craving instead. At the time, Pedraza was working as an event planner, completely unaware of who was nearby. Her friends spotted the actor and practically begged her to invite him to a store opening for tango accessories, whispering that he was a kind man with a serious tango habit. She hesitated at first, feeling that inviting a global superstar to a local event was a bit too bold. But her friends were relentless and she finally caved, slipping him her phone number. To her shock, Duvall called the very next day and asked her to join him for a night out at a local tango club. Ironically, Pedraza, the local Argentine, had never actually set foot in a tango club before. She was completely floored by the authentic atmosphere she experienced that night. Believe it or not, it was Duvall who taught her the steps that evening. He opened her eyes to the nuance of the art form, showing her that it wasn't about the dramatic, cheesy gestures you see on TV. He showed her that real tango doesn't need a rose clutched in your teeth. It demands genuine feeling, a silent connection, and a deep, quiet understanding of your partner. Over time, he became her mentor on the dance floor. And the learning went both ways. He helped her master the English language as their relationship blossomed. He even influenced her diet, and soon she was enjoying steaks alongside him. Duvall became her biggest cheerleader, pushing Pedraza to expand her horizons in every aspect of her life. He was adamant that she try new hobbies and master them, making her feel completely supported in her choices. This confidence spilled over into a massive project decorating their Virginia estate. She refused to bring in a high-priced interior designer. Pedraza believes a home has to have a soul that reflects the people living in it, not a catalogue. Every single nook and cranny needs to tell a story. Handing the keys over to a decorator felt just as intimate and wrong as letting a stranger pick out her wardrobe. She was determined that every inch of that house would scream Robert and Luciana, showcasing exactly who they are as a couple. While Burnley Farm is steeped in Virginia history, which usually screams traditional English manor style, the pair decided to take a sharp left turn with the design. They aimed for a vibe that mirrored Duvall's true nature. Pedraza calls him the ultimate American man, straightforward, natural, and completely comfortable in his own skin. Duvall's philosophy is that a house should feel like a nest, a sanctuary that wraps around you. It has to work for daily life while still looking absolutely stunning. It is a balancing act between being cozy enough to live in and beautiful enough to admire without ever feeling like a stuffy museum. The structure itself is breathtaking, rising 3 stories into the sky, and it even features a specialised editing annex for Robert's film projects. That is the very spot where Duvall poured his soul into editing The Apostle, the masterpiece that eventually snagged him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. Inside the home radiates a classic Americana spirit. To nail that look, Pedraza looked for inspiration from the king of American style himself, Ralph Lauren. She admits she is a huge admirer of his aesthetic. You can see it in the library where brown and white striped drapes a Lauren design frame the windows perfectly. Step into the master suite and you are greeted by crisp white damask bedding that feels both luxurious and simple. Back in the library, the sofa is wrapped in a soothing cranberry red fabric to add warmth. But honestly, that library was Pedraza's biggest design headache. When they moved in, it was decked out in a heavy Western theme, and the scale was intimidating. Her bedroom is 18 feet long, but the library is double that massive size. It came with expansive wooden floors, a roaring fireplace, and endless bookshelves. She knew she had to breathe some fresh energy into the cavernous room. Her solution was to use all that wood as a gallery wall for some serious art. Flanking the fireplace are 2 striking profiles of horses painted by the talented Argentine artist Jorge Piola. These pieces don't just hang there. They pop against the dark timber, creating a focal point that commands your attention immediately. Then there is the fun stuff, like a whimsical cartoon capturing the unexpected sight of Marlon Brando trying his hand at the tango. Above the mantel sits a dramatic black and white photo of a couple frozen mid-spin, vying for attention right next to Duvall's Oscar statuette for Tender Mercies. Every single item in that room, from the silly to the prestigious, adds a layer of depth and personal history to the space. But the room felt a bit dark, so Pedraza decided it needed what she calls a touch of light. She hunted down an exquisite French crystal chandelier from the early 20th century. The inspiration for that specific piece actually came from a coffee table book about English colonial homes in Africa, proving that inspiration can come from anywhere. Hanging a crystal chandelier in a room that rustic felt like a total gamble, but honestly, she was chasing the vibe of those high-end design magazines where contrasting styles just work perfectly. The payoff was huge, bringing a serious dose of glamour and brightness to the massive space, and it kicked off Pedraza's absolute obsession with lighting design. Living with a legend like Duvall and being around movie sets gave her a masterclass in how crucial lighting really is. She learned that the right light can instantly make a place feel cozy and safe, or completely strip away the soul of a room. Because she got that concept, she became meticulous, almost obsessive about selecting the perfect lampshades and the exact drape of the curtains to control the glow. She fully grasped that lighting isn't just a utility, it shapes the emotional temperature of a room just as much as a $10,000 sofa or a priceless painting does. Here is the inside scoop on how Luciana Pedraza took the reins and completely transformed Robert Duvall's sprawling Virginia estate into a home. When the couple went hunting for antiques to fill their nest, Luciana Pedraza and Robert Duvall weren't just browsing aimlessly. They had a very specific curated aesthetic in mind. They steered hard toward the French country style, bypassing the stiff stuff for pieces that felt lived in, inviting and overflowing with personality. One of the absolute showstoppers in the house is this incredible butcher block table that she brilliantly repurposed as a sideboard in the dining room. It stands there as the perfect marriage of practicality and beauty, proving that they care more about furniture that works for real life than pieces you are afraid to touch. Duvall has spilled the tea before admitting that while he isn't necessarily obsessed with French culture across the board, he has a serious weakness for French antiques. But he draws a hard line in the sand. He has zero interest in those uptight, highly traditional French pieces that look like they belong in a stuffy museum. Instead, he is all about that French country antique life because to him the style feels softer, sexier, and much more sensual. It brings a sense of warmth and comfort that you just don't get with early American furniture, which was influenced by the Puritans and frankly looks a bit stiff and uncomfortable. You can see the difference instantly, both in how the furniture looks and, more importantly, how it feels when you actually use it. French country design practically begs you to sit down, pour a drink, and stay a while without feeling like you are breaking any rules. Pedraza also played a genius game with colour, using it strategically to manipulate the entire mood of the mansion. The rooms in their Virginia home are absolutely massive, so instead of letting them feel cold and cavernous, she used a connected colour scheme to soften the edges. Everything flows like water from one space to the next. When you walk through the house, you catch little teasers of the next room, creating a seamless visual journey. That sense of movement from room to room makes the whole estate feel balanced, harmonious, and surprisingly intimate for its size. Her chosen palette is straight out of a designer dream board, featuring shades of buttery yellow, warm beige, spicy mustard, and creamy off-white. These colours weren't just picked out of thin air, they were actually inspired by one of Duvall's most treasured possessions, a set of antique French country dining chairs. To match those fabulous chairs, the man also owns a stunning 18th century French country dining table that anchors the space. He bought these pieces ages ago and they have been his ride-or-die furniture, travelling with him to every single place he has lived over the years. No matter what drama or changes happened in his personal life, these pieces stayed by his side, representing a sense of history and continuity that money can't buy. Pedraza was smart enough to respect that history, letting those beloved items dictate the colour story for the rest of the renovation. By pulling tones from his past, she created a unified environment that feels incredibly personal and meticulously planned rather than just staged. Even though Pedraza has a special place in her heart for the dining room, Duvall is much more casual and prefers entertaining their guests right in the kitchen. That little difference highlights how they each vibe with different parts of the home, but for Pedraza, the kitchen is sacred ground for another reason entirely. It is her sanctuary where she starts her day. She's up at 6:30 sharp just to soak in the beauty of the sunrise over the Virginia hills. The morning light floods the space, gently setting a peaceful and zen-like tone before the chaos of the day begins. She also uses this quiet time to feed the birds outside, a sweet little ritual that she and Duvall both bond over, adding life and warmth to the estate. Ultimately, this home isn't just about expensive furniture and paint swatches. It is about the daily habits and small moments that bring them joy and calm. Pedraza is super open about the fact that decorating this house was a massive learning curve for her since she had never tackled a project like this before. She dove into the project with genuine curiosity and care, and if you are wondering if she went rogue or asked for Duvall's opinion, the answer is definitely both. It was a total collaboration with Duvall, making it very clear that he isn't the type of guy to bark orders or dominate the decision-making process. He views their home as a 50-50 shared space and completely rejects the idea of calling it his house or his bedroom. In his eyes, everything belongs to both of them, an attitude that speaks volumes about the respect and partnership in their marriage. One of the most stunning design flexes happens in the bedroom, where Pedraza centered the entire vibe around a large antique screen in a bold Chinese red. The piece grabbed her attention immediately because of its intricate design, featuring a beautiful tree filled with birds and delicate white blossoms. The imagery on the screen is almost an exact mirror of the real white dogwood tree that stands right outside their bedroom window. In the spring, when the yard is exploding with blossoms from that tree, The screen inside creates a magical visual link between the indoors and the outdoors. The design inside reflects the natural beauty waiting just behind the glass, blurring the lines between art and nature. This thoughtful detail really strengthens the feeling that the house is deeply connected to its surroundings in the Virginia countryside. Duvall can't stop raving about Pedraza's work, comparing her creative process to giving a thoroughbred horse its head and just letting it run free to do what it does best. Robert is a firm believer in letting her genius run wild, creating a safe harbour where her concepts can truly flourish. He knows that while she values his input, real creativity demands the freedom to experiment without boundaries. He endlessly praises her sharp intellect and natural-born talent. Despite having zero experience decorating a house before this, she tackled the project with the swagger of a seasoned pro and absolutely nailed it. Duvall loves to point out that this pattern of mastering new skills is typical for her. She had never danced a single step or acted in a scene before he threw those challenges her way. In fact, Pedraza fearlessly made her big screen debut diving into the deep end of both acting and dancing in Duvall's passion project, Assassination Tango. She didn't just stay in the background, she starred right alongside the Hollywood legend, sharing intense chemistry-filled scenes that required intricate tango footwork. For this power couple, dancing is way more than just a hobby, it is a sacred ritual. They approach their practice sessions with the intensity of professional athletes, prioritising discipline and total mental focus. Luciana actually compares the art of tango to martial arts training. It is not just about moving, it requires a deep connection with a partner, rigid structure, and hours of sweating it out to get it right. You might catch them rehearsing in the wildest places, from hotel elevators to empty parking lots. If they hit a snag with a specific step, they stop everything and drill it over and over until it is absolutely flawless. This shared obsession does wonders for their relationship, strengthening their emotional bond and injecting a vibrant, youthful energy into their daily lives. Their sprawling Virginia estate has transformed into the ultimate sanctuary where they can shut out the world and indulge in this shared passion. The vibe of the mansion has shifted 180 degrees since Pedraza took the design reins. Duvall frequently reflects on how shockingly different his life feels now compared to the old days. He spills the tea on a past marriage, recalling a petty little test he ran where he deliberately left a coat hanging on a rack just to see how long it would sit there untouched by his ex-wife. Believe it or not, months flew by and that coat gathered dust right where he left it. That lonely memory stands in stark, sad contrast to the warmth and attention to detail that defines his life today. These upgrades to his lifestyle aren't just about fancy furniture or expensive decor. They represent a massive emotional shift and a deeper level of connection in his day-to-day existence. The home now radiates a completely renewed spirit. It feels vibrant, lived in, and deeply personal, a far cry from the museum-like coldness of many celebrity pads. Through her keen eye for design, cohesive colour stories, priceless antiques and cosy layouts, Pedraza has curated a backdrop that perfectly mirrors their unique partnership. The gorgeous French country pieces she selected scream comfort while adding a touch of sensual warmth. The flowing colour palette unites every room into one seamless experience. One standout detail is an antique screen in the master bedroom that visually links their private sanctuary to the blooming dogwood trees right outside the window. The kitchen is now flooded with glorious morning sunlight and the sound of birds, while the dining room features cherished chairs and a table that have survived years of changes, acting as silent witnesses to their love story. What is your take on Robert Duvall's stunning Virginia hideaway and his whirlwind romance? Drop your opinions in the comments section below and make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more celebrity updates. Before you click away, you definitely want to check out the video popping up on your screen right now for more exclusive content.